new driver has entered the debate for one of the greatest drivers of all time. Max Verstappen has now won 41 Grand Prix after the Canadian Grand Prix. It pains you, doesn't it?
It does pain me. But it doesn't at the same time, because I always knew he would be a race winner since his first season in 2015. Getting to this many wins, I didn't expect it, I will admit. It's not a shock, because obviously his performance in the last 2 or 3 seasons have been, let's face it, phenomenal.
I think in an era where you've had Hamilton, bit of Rosberg, Raikkonen, Alonso, Vettel, Ricciardo, who's obviously petered away in his recent years, you wouldn't have expected there to have been enough races left for Verstappen to win 41.
No.
And I calculated it, and I'm sure he won 8 the season he won the championship, the first one. He won about 15 last year, did he?
Something like that, yeah.
And I think he's won 7 this year. So he's won 30 Grand Prix in the last 2.5 seasons.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
30 Grand Prix. It's absolutely astonishing.
He's just rocketed up so quickly. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when you go to, like, 2021, when he was only on, like, just over, like, 10 wins, and now suddenly he's, like, at 41. It's just absolutely mental.
Outstanding, isn't it?
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's weird, because you think 3 years ago, he would have been about the same wins as Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
Although you would always see Verstappen as the better driver compared to Valtteri Bottas. You would think, well, he's only got about the same amount of wins. I mean, you look about 50 years in the future, you look back at it and you'll think, oh, that Valtteri Bottas must have been as good as Verstappen. They got about the same wins.
Yeah.
And then he's got 30 in the last 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
And obviously, this brings along the debate of who is better, Senna or Verstappen. 41 Grand Prix wins each. You've got Senna on 3 championships. You've got Verstappen, who inevitably will get his 3rd championship this season. Who do you think's better?
Well, obviously Senna. So everyone's going to say Senna, because Senna is not statistically the greatest of all time, but he's considered the GOAT.
He's the one in everyone's hearts.
But with Verstappen, and a lot of people will agree with me now, he does have a lot of, like, similarities. He shares a lot of similarities with Senna. Definitely. Driving in the wet, being ballsy, all or nothing. You know, like, he's just got the same, like, characteristics as him, which I think is really good. Like Martin Bundler said before, he said it's literally like Senna reincarnated. Not quite the same.
Yeah.
But very, very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
Senna was the sort of driver who would put you in a position where you either had to let him past or crash.
Yeah.
Now, that sounds very much like Max Verstappen.
Yeah, that is very much Max.
They shared a philosophy. They were both aggressive drivers.
Yeah.
And both won a championship from very dubious circumstances.
Yeah. Both very similar then.
Yeah. And obviously, 1988, the McLaren MP4 for Ayrton Senna. You've got the RB19 now. It's absolutely dominant for Red Bull. Very, very similar drivers. A big question that will always be a question is, would Senna have won more championships? Probably. He was in Williams, and had he have not passed away, obviously, he probably could have.
Yeah,
almost certainly could have.
1,000,000% he would have.
If Damon Hill could just step in the car and almost win it in 1994, Senna could have.
Yeah, very easily.
Obviously, Verstappen has still got his years ahead of him, and I would expect him, in the current climate, to be winning more championships.
Yeah.
So it might be something that we revisit in 5-10 years' time and say, well, actually, Verstappen was the better driver than Senna. But I think in our hearts and minds, we're all thinking it's Senna at the moment.
It's always going to be Senna.
I'm saying this with a Mercedes cap on.
It's always going to be Senna.